Great, let's start. So the title of this webinar is how to scale your business with cross-border trade. Um, First, let's just give you a little bit of background on our company. FendLab was founded by me. I've got over 15 years of experience in e-commerce, and we've also got a number of highly experienced e-commerce professionals on the team. Our speciality is launching and growing direct-to-consumer e-commerce businesses. So that means businesses that do a lot of that sell through channels like a Shopify website and Amazon and eBay. And we're multi-channel specialists, so that means we've got experience over a range of different channels. Amazon is obviously the biggie there, but we also have clients which are very successful on through Google Shopping, through other channels, other marketplaces such as eBay, and also international channels. And also a speciality of ours is cross-border trade. When I ran an e-commerce business, which I did up to last year, cross-border trade accounted for 50% of our sales. We were actually, my company, Hello Baby, was used as a case study for the UK Department of International Trade, which is something we're very proud of. So like to think we know a little bit about it. So I've been there, I've seen that, I've seen all the problems, and this is the webinar where I'm going to spill the beans. So what is the opportunities when selling internationally? Now, we've seen some of our clients sell over 50% of their sales are exported. So there is the opportunity to, if you're not selling internationally, to double the size of your business. There's advantage to doing this. So obviously the big advantage is you're growing sales. You're reaching new customers in different parts of the world. Also, we kind of assume that, I live in the UK, and we presume that everywhere's like the UK, as in everything just, it's very easy to get everything, very well developed market. But that's not really the case all around the world. In other parts of the world, there's far less competition, and there's opportunity for higher prices. So you can actually, by offering your products internationally, in some ways it's easier because these markets are not as well developed. They're growing faster, and there's a big opportunity to sell your brands in there. Now, there are some pretty big cons of selling internationally. One is it can get pretty complicated if you're selling, if you're just selling, for example, one channel in your home country, then you don't have anything to worry about. You don't have any integration problems. You don't have any issues with with stock in multiple locations. You don't have to worry about things like import duty, taxes, etc. It's easy. You also have issues with compliance if you sell internationally. So what are the perhaps your products need different messaging, different text. You need to get it translated, etc. Perhaps there's different rules in different countries. Also customer service, you could be selling in different languages. So obviously, if you're from the UK or from the US, then there's lots of different countries that sell in English. Delivery issues, it is more difficult to deliver internationally, particularly if you're shipping overseas. I mean, since shipping from your home country, so particularly since Brexit, shipping across the channel into continental Europe just became harder and more expensive. So you've got to think about how you're going to do that. And there's also hidden costs involved. So if you've got to ship your products internationally, that's more expensive. You've got currency conversion fees. You may have tax to worry about. There's more admin, stuff like that. And it's quite hard to kind of quantify these things. So overall, I think it's a big opportunity and it's worth it. But it is something which you need to think about and consider whether it's something you want to spend your time on. Okay, so I look at it in this webinar. I'm just going to start off by talking about the problems and some solutions to those problems. So the things we're going to look at is delivery, as in how you get your products to the end customer; localization, as in how do you present a local version of your service or products to the to the customer to buy. How do you do customer service in multiple languages and multiple jurisdictions? Some information on taxes, how to manage returns, how you accept payments, both in terms of accepting payments from your customers and then also remitting that money to your business. Finally, just we're going to discuss compliance briefly. So firstly, delivery options. Now, the easiest thing to do is just to deliver products from your home country. You could have your products in a UK warehouse, and then you can list them internationally, and then just deliver them overseas. I think that this does work, though it's not absolutely ideal because it can be quite expensive, and you have to pass that cost on to the customer. So your conversion rate would be lower, but it's easy. You only need to have your stock in one location. That means you can just deliver from your one warehouse. And as long as you say to customers, that how long it's going to take, then they're normally happy with that. I mean, I think the thing is with customers, it's not so much how long it takes, does it take longer than they expect it to take. Now, the problem with doing this is, it is more expensive. So if you're shipping, say, from the UK or indeed from any country overseas, it is you can send things via a track service, which is expensive, or you can send things via an untracked service, which is cheaper, but then things get lost, and so you have more customer service problems. So it's a bit of a balance to make. I've kind of come to the conclusion that you really want your international business to be as close to your like it's being delivered domestically, right? So that really means using a fulfillment house overseas, which there are plenty available. Or if you're an Amazon seller, you've got a number of options. You could use pan-European FBA, and what that is you deliver your products into an EU-based warehouse, and then it can be delivered Prime eligible throughout the whole of the EU. Well, EU, the countries that Amazon deals with, all the countries Amazon has businesses in, which is France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Poland, Belgium, Netherlands, Sweden, Turkey. That's it. Yes. Soon to be Ireland as well. So I haven't told you what FBA is. FBA stands for Fulfillment by Amazon, it's Amazon's fulfillment service. Another option that Amazon has is so-called remote FBA. Now, what that would be is you would have your products in your home country, for example, the UK, and then they would ship it from your home country into the EU. So in this case, you don't need to worry about any, Amazon effectively buys the product to you and sells it to the customer. So you don't have to worry about tax. You don't have to worry about, it's all done from the same inventory in the UK. It's incremental sales, and all incremental sales is good, and it's easy to set up. The issue is that Amazon, it is more expensive. They will charge you higher fees for shipping, and they will also put a shipping charge on top of it, so they will make more money. So your sales won't be as high. Something I've come across recently is there's companies will actually deliver your products directly from China. So it's actually not as expensive, and it doesn't take as long as you think. It's a company called Portless that does it. And international returns, obviously if you're using a fulfillment house or FBA, they will manage the returns. Or there's a number of companies, Easy Returns being one of them, who will do your returns for you internationally. And they'll give you addresses which you can put on into Amazon. Amazon requires local return addresses, and they will manage your returns for you and then send it back to you. It's worth noting that inventory storage has got VAT implications, as in if you store inventory in a country, you need to be VAT registered in that country. We'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, localization. And what I mean by that is translation. Localization covers a number of things, but particularly I'm going to talk about how do you create a local version of your offer. And by offer, I mean your products that you're selling. So if we look at the website, Shopify has something called Shopify Markets, which is part of their native platform. You don't have to pay any more for it, and you just what you can do is you'd say the markets that you want to sell in. Then you will then have a different view of your site for each market, which you can then use for Google Shopping. So you could create a different feed for each country. And then which can have different pricing, and you can also use a translation app to create different different language translations for each country. And it's a very easy way of creating a number from one instance of Shopify to create multiple to sell into multiple markets. Now you won't have the URL will be the same. It'll be like trevorgin.com / EN for English and IT for Italian, etc. So you won't have different URLs, but it will be a different version of the site. With Amazon, you can use something called Build International Listings, which will effectively mirror your listings in international countries. And you can set it up to mirror the prices, etc. Amazon also has something called a global account, where you can actually access all your different Amazon accounts across the world from the same login. And a version of this is the EU combined account. And what that does is you can have a single, if you're selling, say, in the UK, and you've got listings in each country, it'll share the inventory across the different accounts. So if you've got inventory in the UK and you're shipping to into the EU and you're doing it from the UK, then you'll have the same, and you have a listing which has the same SKU, then you will have the same SKU. They will both have the same stock, and if you sell one, the stock will go down in each country, so that prevents overselling. On eBay, eBay will, if you have set the shipping options to make it available internationally, then you will see those products will be available on international versions of the site, and eBay will automatically translate them. Now, in order to get the best exposure, you need to have a different listing for each country. eBay doesn't work that well with international listings. What you can do is you can use a tool called Web Interpret, which will take your UK listings or your home country's listings, and it will mirror them in different countries. So you'll have a separate listing in each country, and I think they charge like 5% or something to do it. But money's money. But then if something like this, if you use a solution like Web Interpret, then it's a problem solved. And I've tried doing it both ways. I've tried managing my own listings using a tool called Linworks, and I've also done using Web Interpret, and I think that Web Interpret, much as I don't think it's a particularly good platform, does do the job. Customer service. You might think you need local speakers to do customer service. I mean, obviously that would be ideal, but that would be expensive. I mean, there's companies that do that. There's one called Intercultural Elements that has local speakers to do customer service. However, a combination of Google Translate or various translation tools and templated answers will be fine for 99% of customer service. And if you're using because most things are, where's my stuff? That's actually most of the problems. And if you're using FBA, then as in Fulfillment by Amazon, then they will do the customer service for any delivery-based questions. And anything which is to do with the product, you'll have to answer, but anything which is to do with the service, they will answer. Now, if you get really stuck and you need to, get something translated because you've got a sticky problem you want to fix. Now, in my case, this would always be something like Amazon feedback. If you're trying to get some Amazon feedback removed, you want to, have it in written properly. There's a site called Gengo, which you pay by the word, and it's quite cheap. So if you have specific things you want to do, that's a good option. Compliance and financial, briefly. This is a sticky area. I mean, I won't pretend to be an expert in lots of this, but I will. This gives you some pointers. Obviously, the rules for products are different in different countries. It used to be on Amazon that it was a bit of a Wild West. Now they get quite excited about it, and you've got to be careful that you comply with your local local compliance rules. There's a list of them on Amazon. I'll give you some examples. You can't sell, and they get really, something which causes loads of problems is things like pesticides. So if you try to list a pesticide product in the USA, even if it's just like an antibacterial wipe or something, they get really, they'll pull the listing, and if you do that more than once, they'll pull your account, and it's quite hard to get it fixed. Other problems are things like in Canada, you can't sell baby walkers. They get quite upset if you list baby walkers there. And also there's kind of baby sleeping aids. They don't like this in the US. I mean, the list goes on, right? But I'm just saying that you need to actually take time to read the product compliance issues on these websites, because particularly if you break rules on these marketplaces, they get quite jumpy about it. So you need to, and that's before you've even done the kind of official government compliance. You need to look at the compliance on the marketplaces, which will almost certainly be quite similar, but they can differ. I've seen situations where products, where they say, oh, you can't sell this product into this country, and it seemed to be all not connected to any particular regulations. You may need, if you're selling internationally, you may need into the Europe, as in any continental Europe, you may need local VAT registrations, and that's for two reasons. One is each country has a threshold, and if you sell more than that into that country, you need to have a local VAT registration. The other one is, I can't remember what they are. Sometimes some countries it's like £20,000, euros, some it's 100. There's websites there that'll tell you what it is. If you store stock, if you use pan-European FBA and you start storing stock, then you'll definitely need a registration in that country. Amazon has a service, it's called Local Tax. I can't remember. Anyway, it's one of the services that they offer. If you go into your account and you go to your seller settings and you go to the programs that you can sign on for, then that's one of the options available, and that is probably the cheapest way of doing it. There's multiple companies out there that'll do it for you. Obviously, there's import charges, and I mean that both from the point of view of if you're sending stuff into other countries, then you have to worry about the import charges. You need a freight forwarder. You can't just send stuff to, say, Amazon USA. You need a freight forwarder who'll deal with the import charges, and then you need to then send it to Amazon. They won't deal with that. You also, if you're sending stuff, say you're in the UK and you're sending stuff into the EU, then there's going to be, what you can't do is have it's a terrible customer experience to get paid charge duty at the border, and B, it's actually against Amazon's rules. So you need a way of doing that. You can either do a kind of reverse charge mechanism whereby, there's something called International One-Stop Shop, where you effectively, where you, it works very much like it used to work in terms of you send the products and then you do a submission once a month or once every 3 months, and then you pay the VAT and you do it to one country. So I've seen it happen where you get a registration in Ireland, and then you do a submission to your Irish, to the island every 3 months, and then what happens is then you just pay to that. So instead of having to pay to each country, you just pay to one country, very much like kind of a local VAT registration. Another option, but that only works up to €100, or is it 150? I can't remember. There's a limit. Over that, then it'll get charged to the customer unless you do a kind of reverse charge mechanism. So if you send it with people like DPD, what will happen is they will pay you will effectively pay you will be the importer of record, and you will pay the VAT to the instead of the customer, you will pay the VAT, and it'll go directly via your courier. Some countries charge something called GST, which is good sales tax. So, for example, if you send things into Norway or Australia or New Zealand, you're supposed to pay GST. And you need a registration to do this, and you pay directly to the government. Also, US sales tax. Now, if each state in the US has different tax, and the seller's supposed to collect this and then submit it. Now, it's worth saying that if you sell for marketplaces, normally the marketplaces do this on your behalf. So if any of these charges, if you sell on eBay, Amazon, Frugo, etc., then they will pay the VAT. They will do the import charges. They will do the VAT. They will do the GST. They will do the US sales tax. So you don't have to worry about it. But do check what the situation is. Currency conversion fees. Helpfully, if you sell on on platform, you've got number, depending what payments you take. I mean, if you selling on say Amazon, then they will collect the euros for you, and you've got a choice either of remitting that to your nominated bank account and you can get Amazon to do it, and it's called the Amazon Currency Converter. But they will charge you more fees to do that than if you use a dedicated what they call a dedicated kind of broker account, a currency account called and companies that do that are like Payoneer and World First. They will charge you much better rates. And you can also, if you have your money in things like Payoneer, then you can use it to say pay your suppliers or whatever you want to do with it. And you'll, so there's a number of different options. If you take payments, these currency conversion fees are there are ways in which these companies make money. So if you take a payment with ShopPay, you can take multi-currency with ShopPay is Shopify's payment service. You can take payments via ShopPay in the local currency, but they'll only remit in your home currency, and they will give you a bad rate when they remit it. And you can't go for a currency conversion of that. PayPal's the same. They will, if you do an international transaction, they will charge you a fee on top of your normal fee, and it can be up to 2%. So you pay a normal fee, which is somewhere between 0.5 and I can't remember anyway, whatever it is, somewhere between 1.5 and 3.5, and then they'll charge you between 0.5 and 2% on top of that. And then when you remit the funds, they'll charge you a conversion fee on top of that as well. So they just take money where they can. So anyway, these are the things that gives you a heads up on these things. That's very important to research this stuff. That's only really an overview. So what are the opportunities when you're selling online? I've broken these down into international channels and local channels. So the international channels are ones where you can sell across multiple countries from the same account, and the local channels will only be selling in 1 or 2 countries. So the international channels, Google Shopping, that's Google's the shopping ads at the top of Google Ads. They are, you can, with those, that works in multiple countries around the world. So you can, what you need is a feed, a local country feed, and you need to be in local currency, and then you can set a different campaign up for each country you want to sell into. Amazon has, I think, 20 sites around the world now. It's growing all the time. They're launching South Africa and Ireland this year. eBay, again, you can sell in multiple countries. Frugo is actually a UK platform, and what effectively they do is they resell Google Shopping, but it's a way of appearing on Google Shopping twice. Etsy, you can sell international Etsy. Etsy's a craft marketplace. And finally, affiliate networks. Affiliate networks is where you publish a site, for example, a blog, will link to your site and then get a commission if someone clicks on it and buys something. These affiliate networks, some of them are international, so you can get traffic from all around the world. Great local channels. Bol is really big in the Netherlands and Belgium, bigger than Amazon. Nice site to sell on. Cdiscount's big in France. I think it's big, but it's not. I mean, it's not the same size. It's like half the size of Amazon or something, but it's still significant. TradeMe is the site in New Zealand. It's a lovely little site, but unfortunately, there's just not many people in New Zealand, so sales are quite low. Rakuten is big. It's they've got a big in Japan. I think they're as big as Amazon in Japan, and they've also got several sites around the world. So I think they've got one in Germany and one in France. Walmart is catching up with Amazon and catching up slowly, but certainly getting bigger in the US and Canada. What I haven't mentioned is China. China is, I mean, obviously there's Alibaba. Tmall is the big marketplace. I mean, if you can get on it, it's great, but you need to go for a local. They call them TPs or Tmall partners, and it's quite expensive. But it's a big opportunity if you have products which you think you want to get into China. They're really looking for big brands. So the kind of people who sell on the kind of people who sell on Tmall would be like Brompton Bikes or Costco or something like that. But if you're that kind of scale of company, then it's a big opportunity for you. Okay, so let's take these opportunities one at a time. Amazon, we see our clients, they make somewhere between 20 and 40% of their sales on Amazon. Obviously, there's some businesses out there which sell 100% on Amazon. So it's absolutely massive. It's the world's biggest marketplace. It's an all-in-one platform, as in it's got a search for products, it's got a way of publishing products, it's got a search for products, it has ads. You can buy ads to get extra exposure to your products. and it has a fulfillment service as well. So that's FBA, which I talked about previously. FBA is not only it's in just about every country they do has FBA. So if you say wants to go and start selling in the Amazon United Arab Emirates, UAE, they have FBA there. So I think it's just about every country they use. So it's probably the biggest opportunity for selling internationally would be on Amazon because of its enormous popularity, its huge reach, its massive customer, huge customer base, international reach, and the fact that everyone loves it. Having said that, there are some cons of selling on Amazon just in general. It's an undignified experience. They're not very nice to their sellers. You don't control the customer, as in effectively Amazon's lending a customer to you. You can't directly market to them afterwards. It is expensive to sell on. You have the fees, which are around 15%, and then normally people buy 5 or 10% worth of advertising on top of that. It's hugely competitive. I mean, there's no shortage of stuff on Amazon, I'm sure you all know. But it's where all the customers are. All your customers are on Amazon, and all your potential customers are on Amazon. So if you're not there, then you're missing out to brands that are, both domestically and internationally. So this is just a little bit more detail on that. I mean, Amazon are always trying to get more people to sell internationally. So they've made it. There's various ways they make this easy, or they try and make it easy. There's this global account, which means you can access the same. You can access all your international accounts from the same login. Every country that Amazon is in has local FBA, so you can onboard your products into that country. I mean, particularly big if you're based in the UK, in fact anywhere in the world. The biggest opportunity would be the USA, because the USA is, I mean, it's 10 times the size of the UK, and it's probably I don't know, it's similar. It's bigger than the EU put together. So you can deliver your stuff into there. Then in the EU, there's Pan-European FBA, which is a great way of reaching all the people in the EU from a single inventory. So you could only say, for example, if you were selling it, you in the UK, you could have a UK inventory, Amazon inventory, and you can have your EU Amazon inventory. There's also remote FBA, which in the US, you can have your stuff in the US and then you can deliver it to Canada and Mexico. In the EU and UK, you can have it in one country and deliver it to other countries. They've also got some programs to enable you to import products. So they've got one which is you can, if you're based in the UK, then you can deliver your stuff to Weybridge, and then they will take it over to France for you for Pan-European FBA. It's an awful lot cheaper than doing it yourself. And they also have a service whereby you can send the stuff to from delivering from China directly into warehouses in Amazon warehouses. They will also do your customer service for you if you have stuff in FBA. So I've got a list of banana skins here. What can go wrong? It's fiddly. Amazon's just fiddly, and it's quite an old system now. And I refer to it as the Amazon deep state, as in there's an awful lot going on underneath that you just don't know about, and it can be a very hard system to use and very unforgiving. They have country-specific rules which you need to really catch people out. I mean, I mentioned we do things like problems we've had is written antibacterial in something is like naturally antibacterial, like wool or merino wool is naturally antibacterial. Doesn't mean it has any chemicals in it, but if you put that in, it'll get picked up and it'll get pulled, and you need to be careful to avoid that. Then every country has different compliance rules, and you just need to read these things beforehand. And then you'll still probably make a mistake, and then if you have a problem, you just need to work through Amazon's process. eBay it's probably the second biggest opportunity. Well, in terms of marketplaces, I mean, it's an awful lot smaller than Amazon, but it's got a lower customer base, and also it's has international reach, very strong in certain sectors. So electronics is good in. I mean, particularly if you're the kind of company that has end of line stock or something like that, very, very good for that kind of thing. Also, just good. People just go on to buy it. I mean, personally, when I'm searching for stuff, I look on, Google, I look on Amazon, I look on eBay. They're the three things I look at. So I think, the opportunity here is somewhere between 5 and 15% of sales, and that's worth having, right? Small, but these things all add up. It is, however, a shrinking market. I mean, I was looking at the sales the other day, and they haven't grown since 2019, which means they're probably, at least 10% lower than they were. Equally, it's like a marketplace. You have a lack of control. You don't have the, you don't own the customer. I mean, they're not quite as jumpy about this as Amazon are, but they're quite jumpy. There's fees. I mean, they've gone up a bit. I mean, it was about, you're probably looking at something about 15% on eBay, because you need a bit of advertising on top. They have their sponsored product listings. So I mean, Amazon's about 25%. eBay would be more like about 15%, but it's a much smaller opportunity. So a little bit more detail on eBay here. So on eBay, you can do something called an advanced international shipping, and what that means is if you have an eBay anchor store, you can list internationally at the same price you list in the UK. So an anchor store will let you list, an unlimited number of products, I think, for free. If you have an anchor store, then you can do the same internationally. Again, Web Interpret is a system to take your local listings and list them internationally. It'll do automatic translation. And also in the UK, there's something called the Global Shipping Program, which means that if you enable this, you don't have to do the shipping yourself, that you will ship it to your customer buys it, it'll go to an eBay fulfillment center and they will ship it. So you don't have to worry about the local shipping bit. Again, same problems. Listing international eBay, you've got lots of listings going, it's fiddly, and there's country specific rules and compliance you need to worry about. Other marketplaces, I mean, we see this doing, somewhere between 5 and 15% of sales. I mean, great one. Frugo is really great. Is a really good marketplace. That other really great ones. I mean, if you're looking to get into Europe, Cdiscount, Bol, Mercado Libre. If you it's South America, though delivery in South America is a bit of a problem, and then Walmart. Again, all these things, the same thing. It's more of the same. You're reaching new customers with lower competition, but then the cons would be there's fees involved. Like all these marketplaces normally charge around 15% plus advertising. The integrations can be quite difficult with some marketplaces. I mean, some of them you can just go and set up an account. So you can just, for example, Cdiscount, you can just go and set up an account. Bol, you need to have a local company registered or like an EU entity. Frugo, they won't take absolutely everyone. They have to be vetted to go on the platform. So there's entry requirements. Another one is Allegro, which is very big in Poland. That's can be a slightly tricky marketplace to sell through. And the way some of these platforms work, and they haven't had the kind of investment that the likes of eBay and Amazon have, so consequently they just aren't anything like as easy to use. But my experience is you trial these things and one or two of them work. Most of them don't work, but one or two of them work really, really well, surprisingly well. And 5 to 10% of sales is it's easier. It's a good thing to have, and it's easier to launch a new platform. You can easily see the sales increase with a new platform, whereas normally I find with older platforms, sales do this all the time, and it's really hard to see that you're actually making any progress. Finally, so the website, big opportunity for selling internationally. Well, I mean, obviously the website, it's 50% plus of sales. I mean, if you're selling on lots of different platforms, you're selling on eBay and Amazon, we'd kind of expect the website to sell a similar amount. Unless you're really, really, really good at SEO, probably most of that traffic will come from Google Shopping. The traffic opportunities for international would be Google Shopping, affiliate schemes, email marketing to your customers around the world, and then local SEO. The benefits of selling for a website is you own the customer, so they're yours. You've bought them. You can then you can send them marketing messages. Also, there's certain sales channels. I mean, you can't, unless you've got a website, you can't do affiliate schemes and you can't do email marketing. So you need a website in order to access this whole raft of different marketing techniques you can use. you have full control of what you do, and the setup is easy, particularly with Shopify, which we love. Um, it's the setup has become quite templated, and you can just it's relatively easy to set these things up. And also Google Translate, these translate tools means you can easily localize. Um, However, with a website, obviously you've got to set it up and you've got to keep it going. And like all the and that is harder than because it's such a system with infinite possibilities. Then you can set up things which are quite complicated, and it becomes quite hard to keep going. Um, which is why some people just sell on Amazon, because it's got everything they need. And then it's the cost of running it, and then any costs of marketing that you have. So I'm just going to pull out one thing from Google search here. I mean, we find that Google search can generate somewhere between 20 to 40% of sales. And there's just a picture of how it looks. I've done a search here for an Apple iPhone. So they're the little image-based ads at the top. So that is generated. Those ads are generated by a feed, and that feed you goes from your website into Google Merchant Center, and then it creates the ads from there. So you would have, if you're doing multi-country, you'd have a feed for each country, and then that would go into Google Merchant Center. You get a certain amount of free traffic from this products tab on Google, but most of your traffic would come from the ads. And each country you would set up a different campaign. So the most recent campaign type on Google is Google Performance Max, and what that does is it does all the targeting for you. So you pretty much you've gone from the point where you have to spend a lot of time optimizing campaigns, and now what you do is you need to spend. You tell Google how much you're willing to pay to get a customer, so you give a return on investment target. So if you're happy to spend 10% of your sale price, then that would be 1,000%, like a 10 times return. If you it's highly automated, and these days, so you just set your ROI target, and then you give them your offer, which is you send them your product data. So these days it's all about having a good offer and how much you want to spend to get customers, and there's not that many levers to pull. So it's quite easy to do, particularly you don't need to set keywords targets for different countries. Google is the conversion rate on Google Ads is really great, because it's so intent driven. I mean, people are searching for products, and they click on the product and they go to your website. It's expensive. I mean, you're about somewhere between 15 and 20%. If you're doing really well, you might be paying 10%. I mean, to a certain extent, it's how many customers you want. The more you spend, the more customers you'll get. So it can be, depending on how you look at it, it's expensive, but everything's expensive these days. Great. Okay, thanks for listening. I've got time for questions now. Has anyone got any questions? Let me just go to LinkedIn and have a look. No comments, no questions. Go on to YouTube. Okay, Hannah just asked me the question: do Weybers ship to the USA? I don't think so. I don't think so, unfortunately. If you use a company, I think First Choice is, I've got it called Frisbee. Frisbee now are a Frisbee. Frisbee. Here we go. I'm just going to share my screen again. Present, share screen. Entire screen. Share. Okay, these guys. Um, these guys do shipping internationally, so you can get your stuff shipped from the UK to into USA. I don't know. You need to do a search and see where the what platform, what services Amazon have. I mean, I think I did look at it and I discovered I think that these guys were cheaper than the actual. I mean, Amazon has to deal with UPS, but I think these guys were cheaper. Go on, hit me with anything, guys. Hannah, ask me another question. All yours. Thank you. Okay, you're welcome. Great. Okay. Well, thanks very much for listening, everyone. I hope that was helpful. Oh, here we go. Have you had any with Habu? Oh, here we go. Daniel. Right. Okay. Oh, it's all coming now. Um, no, I haven't had any experience with Habu. I did talk to the guy that set it up. But no, I don't. I can't give you advice on that. Importer of record, responsible person, seller of record in the UK. Oh God, responsible person. Not really, unfortunately. Seller of record. Um, no, unfortunately, I can't help you with that. Well, great. Any more questions? You can always email me afterwards if you like. I'll leave my email address is Trevor at a country priority list in terms of here we go. Question is, do you have a country the easiest to most obstacles hard to sell to? Um, well, I mean the easiest thing, depending what you have. I mean, Ireland would be the easiest. Um, the countries which are in your home language are the easiest. So I would say that and but that said, so um, so if you offering stuff into Ireland is probably the easiest. In terms of shipping, then the EU would be easiest because you can put stuff into pan-European FBA. I mean, you don't need to worry about you don't have to worry about any shipping after that. Then I'd sort of probably say the pan-European FBA, well, the Amazon via pan-European FBA, and um, then I'd say the USA after that, USA and Canada. Splendid. Okay, unless any more questions, I'm going to call it a day. But thanks all for listening. As I say, drop me an email if you've got any questions. I'll do another one. I'm going to be doing another webinar in a month. Bye.